Las Vegas, known worldwide for its glowing lights, luxury resorts, and non-stop entertainment, has long stood as a symbol of escapism and dreams. But behind the shimmering skyline and the buzz of slot machines, a quieter, more dangerous reality is unfolding. This is not the Vegas shown in travel ads or on postcards. Just blocks away from the Strip, thousands of individuals face a far different version of the city, one marked by hardship, instability, and an increasingly visible homeless crisis. In this special report, we step beyond the glitz to explore what's truly happening beneath the surface. We'll hear personal stories, confront difficult truths, and examine how one of the wealthiest entertainment hubs in the world became a place where basic shelter is out of reach for so many. Whether you're a lifelong local, a retiree on a fixed income, a young worker chasing opportunity, or simply someone who believes everyone deserves dignity, this story is yours too. So how did the City of Hope become a city on the edge? And more importantly, what can it tell us about the future of cities across America? As usual, this is not a pessimistic warning, but rather a realistic snapshot, helping us see more clearly what is happening and prepare proactively and mindfully. Because sometimes, to maintain our faith, we need the courage to confront the darker side of the society we live in. And if you are ready to face the silent cracks in Las Vegas, then let's start right now. In the shadow of billion-dollar resorts and luxury towers, nearly 8,000 people are living without a permanent home, a number that's grown by 20% in the last year alone, according to local government data. And these aren't just statistics. These are parents, veterans, seniors. Many are people who once worked in the very hotels and casinos that now seem out of reach. On one side, champagne toasts, sold-out shows, and penthouse views. On the other, tarps stretched between shopping carts, sleeping bags curled in concrete corners, and lives built on the edge of survival. It's possible to spend $500 on a single night out, then walk 10 minutes and find someone struggling to afford a warm meal. That gap? It's not just financial, it's human. It speaks to who gets seen and who gets left behind. But the deeper question is, how does a city so rich leave so many people with so little? Many arrived in Las Vegas chasing something, a new start, a better job, a second chance. This city sells hope like it sells show tickets, brightly lit and beautifully packaged. But for some, the dream ends quickly. A job lost, a rent spike, a health issue, one wrong turn, and that new beginning becomes a quiet unraveling. Some viewers might think, that's tragic, but it could never happen to me. But if you've ever worried about paying the next bill, if your retirement check doesn't stretch like it used to, or if your health insurance feels like a luxury, then maybe this story is closer to yours than you realize. Because in Las Vegas, the gamble isn't just on the casino floor, it's on everyday survival. Housing costs are rising faster than wages. Support systems are strained. And in a city built on fantasy, reality is hitting hard. Many who once paid rent now live in tents. Many who once served others now go unseen. The American dream used to promise progress for hard work. But here, in the entertainment capital of the world, that promise is cracking. So we're left with this haunting question. How did we become a society where some sleep under chandeliers and others under streetlights just a few blocks apart? For many, home is no longer a right. It's a prize you have to compete for. Las Vegas has become one of the least affordable cities in America for low-income renters. According to the latest data, there are only 14 affordable housing units for every 100 families in need. That's not a small shortage, it's a collapse of options. And while the Strip dazzles with billion-dollar attractions, thousands of locals are forced to live in motels, shared spaces, or their cars if they're lucky enough to have one. When more than a third of your paycheck goes to rent, what's left to survive on? Experts say spending more than 30% of your income on housing puts you at risk of instability. But in Las Vegas, many families now spend over 50%, sometimes even 70%, just to stay under a roof. For those living paycheck to paycheck, hospitality workers, cleaners, cashiers, even retirees, there's no buffer. One unexpected bill, one missed shift, and the line between at risk and out on the street disappears overnight. A growing number of unhoused individuals in Las Vegas are seniors. People who worked all their lives now find their social security checks of $1,300 to $1,500 a month no longer cover the cost of rent, medication, and food. Some now live in weekly motels. Others stay in shelters, if they can find a bed. Some sleep in wheelchairs near bus stops. And many carry the same heartbreaking question. How did it come to this? Even full-time workers are being priced out of the homes they once called secure. In Las Vegas, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is over $1,200 per month. Meanwhile, entry-level jobs in the service sector, which power the local economy, often pay around $13 to $15 per hour. And yet, while people fall through the cracks, luxury towers keep rising. As Las Vegas reinvents itself with more casinos, mega resorts, and upscale apartment buildings, low-income housing is vanishing. For every high-end development that goes up, another older building is bought, flipped, and priced out of reach for the very people who built this city. So the real question is no longer, why are people homeless? Zrenia. It's why is it so hard to stay housed? In a city known for chance, it shouldn't be chance that determines whether a mother has a place to tuck her kids in at night, or whether a senior has to choose between a hot meal and a warm room. And if this is happening in Las Vegas, a place built on big dreams and bigger money, what does that say about where we're heading as a society? Not all wounds are visible, and not all struggles start with losing a home. In Las Vegas, where lights flash 24/7 and opportunity seems endless, many quietly carry burdens that go far deeper than economic hardship. Emotional exhaustion, prolonged stress, and unresolved pain often follow people long before they ever end up on the streets. This is a city of risk-takers, but some gambles come at a personal cost. Las Vegas promises second chances, but when things fall apart, the emotional toll can be overwhelming. For some, it begins with overwhelming pressure, job loss, grief, or declining health. These issues don't just shake confidence, they erode the ability to hold on. Estimates suggest that a large majority of people experiencing homelessness in Las Vegas face ongoing emotional or psychological strain. These are not one-time breakdowns, but deep-rooted patterns. And without proper care, they rarely heal on their own. Stress and emotional fatigue don't just affect thoughts, they affect everything. Daily survival becomes harder. Focus fades. Sleep is broken. Some people may struggle with clarity or memory. Others isolate themselves or experience strong reactions to noise, crowds, or authority. And for older adults, veterans, or people with long-term medical issues, these burdens are heavier still, especially when there's no quiet place to rest, no support network to lean on. Even when support exists, it's often too far, too full, or too late. In Nevada, access to mental wellness services remains limited, especially for those without stable housing or consistent identification. Clinics are under strain, wait times stretch for weeks, and navigating paperwork without a phone or address? Nearly impossible. For many, asking for help becomes exhausting, and after enough closed doors, they stop asking. What we're seeing isn't just a gap in services, it's a breakdown in connection. When someone is emotionally overwhelmed, they don't just need treatment, they need to be seen, heard, and treated with patience. But often, they're met with avoidance or judgment. It's not uncommon for someone in crisis to be misunderstood as aggressive, unmotivated, or irresponsible, when in reality, they're just trying to hold themselves together. We cannot talk about the crisis in Las Vegas without acknowledging this deeper struggle. The emotional battles playing out behind each tent or sidewalk corner aren't just personal, they're public. They affect how people engage with services, respond to authority, and interact with the community around them. And too often, the first responder is not a mental health professional. It's a police officer. Not because they're the best fit, but because there's no one else. So many of these stories begin long before someone reaches the streets. Maybe it started with childhood instability. Maybe it came after years of caregiving or a medical emergency that upended everything. Maybe it was loneliness that slowly hardened into silence. Each journey is different, but the weight is often the same. And without early intervention, that weight becomes too much to carry. And for many watching this who've ever felt overwhelmed, overlooked, or stretched too thin, you already know how fragile that line can be. You know how one missed step can shift everything. In a city of lights and second chances, what would it take to make sure no one is left alone in the dark? What happens when a city stops being livable? Not just in cost, but in climate. In Las Vegas, this question isn't theoretical. It plays out every single day, right on the sidewalks, where hundreds of men and women are exposed to the unforgiving extremes of the Nevada desert, without shelter, protection, or even shade. In the summer, the sun doesn't just shine, it scorches. Temperatures routinely soar past 43 degrees Celsius, 110 degrees Fahrenheit, turning concrete into burn hazards and shade into a rare luxury. On some days, walking barefoot for even a few seconds could blister the skin. Yet for many without a roof, there's no choice but to endure it. There are people sitting under overpasses, clutching plastic water bottles that have gone warm by midday. Elderly individuals fanning themselves with scraps of cardboard, their faces flushed from the heat. Heat stroke, dehydration, and exhaustion are not possibilities. They are daily threats. This isn't survival, it's exposure. Prolonged, unrelenting, and dangerous. But when summer fades, winter doesn't bring relief. It brings a different kind of risk. Once the sun dips behind the strip, the temperature drops sharply. By midnight, it's not unusual to see it hit freezing. Without proper clothing or access to warm spaces, people on the streets wrap themselves in thin blankets, cardboard, or trash bags, desperately trying to trap any heat. Hypothermia is a huge problem. It doesn't come with warnings, just stillness. And for someone with no place to go, no consistent meal, and no medical support, one cold night can lead to dangerous results. Every day becomes a fight for the basics, and even that fight is crowded. At shelters like Catholic Charities or the Courtyard Resource Center, long lines form early. Dozens, sometimes hundreds, gather with the hope of getting a bed for the night. But the math rarely works in their favor. There simply aren't enough spaces. Many are turned away after waiting for hours, told to try again tomorrow. But tomorrow might be colder, or hotter, or more dangerous. So where do they go? Back to the sidewalk, to alleyways, to hidden spots behind casinos, places that offer cover, but not safety. And here's the chilling part. This isn't just a humanitarian issue, it's a public safety warning. When a growing portion of a city has to live outdoors, it doesn't just affect them, it reshapes public spaces. Parks, sidewalks, transit stations all become stages for emergency-level living. And with that comes tension, uncertainty, and instability that reaches every resident. For middle-class and working-class families, the thought is sobering. What if one job loss or one hospital bill pushed you into this same cycle? This isn't about the distant future. It's about the grandmother sitting on the sidewalk with swollen ankles, the teenager wrapped in 2 t-shirts instead of a coat, the man you walked past at the gas station who hasn't slept in a bed in months. This is happening in the heart of one of America's most profitable cities, and it's growing. More tents, more crowds, more suffering in plain view. So the question isn't, why are they still on the streets? It's, how long until the streets aren't survivable at all? What happens when the streets are no longer an option, and people are forced to go underground? Just beneath the glittering lights and billion-dollar towers of the Las Vegas Strip lies a hidden world, one that few tourists, and even many locals, ever realize exists. It's here, in a vast labyrinth of flood tunnels built to protect the city from rare but violent desert rainstorms, that an estimated 1,500 people now call home. Many of them once working-class Nevadans, who've lost everything and sought out the only refuge they could find, beneath the ground. For many, going underground isn't a choice, It's a last resort. The surface offers no stability. Shelters are overcrowded. Sidewalks are dangerous. The desert climate swings from searing heat to bone-chilling cold. So, people retreat into the flood channels. Long, echoing passageways carved beneath the city like veins under skin. Down there, daylight disappears. The air grows still and stale. It's quiet, sometimes eerily so, but at least it's shaded, protected from the blistering sun above. To the people who've lost access to jobs, family, and housing, these tunnels represent something rare, a space where they can sleep, however uncomfortably, without being moved along. But safety is an illusion, and life underground comes with a new set of dangers. These tunnels were never meant for people. They were engineered to channel rainwater during flash floods. What begins as a dry, dusty space can turn into a raging current in minutes. There's no siren, no buffer. If you don't evacuate in time, you don't get another chance. Beyond the flood threat, there's the toll of the environment itself. These spaces lack airflow, clean water, and sanitation. Infections, respiratory issues, and untreated injuries spread quickly, and with limited access to healthcare, what starts as a minor problem can become life-threatening. And perhaps most haunting of all, society has learned to look away. When people disappear below ground, they often vanish from the public eye too, out of sight, out of mind. But these are not people who were always on the margins. Some once worked in construction. Others were cooks, cleaners, caregivers. Some used to live in neighborhoods just like yours. Their stories didn't start underground, and they weren't destined to end there either. But without stronger support systems, clearer exit paths, and long-term housing solutions, this hidden community is growing. Here's the unsettling truth. In a city known for spectacle, for drawing in millions of tourists with dazzling shows and luxurious experiences, thousands of lives are unfolding in complete darkness, beneath the very sidewalks we walk on. And the question we're left with is this: what kind of city forces people to live underground just to find peace? What if the biggest barrier isn't a lack of shelter, but how we see those who need it? In cities like Las Vegas, the struggle of homelessness doesn't end at finding food or shelter. For many, the deeper wound is how they're perceived. Rather than being seen as neighbors who've fallen on hard times, they're often treated as outsiders, as if their presence alone is the problem. This quiet judgment seeps into everyday life. Sideways glances, wide steps taken to avoid someone on the sidewalk, or whispers that turn people into labels. It's not always loud, but it's constant, and it hurts. Many people still believe that losing your home means you've made bad choices, that it must be someone's fault. But for thousands living on the edge in Las Vegas, the truth is more complicated. Layoffs, rising rent, medical emergencies, family breakdowns, and yes, sometimes health issues that were never properly addressed. Those aren't just personal failures. They're signs of a system that's stretched too thin, with too few lifelines when someone starts to fall. The danger of judgment is that it closes doors, sometimes permanently. When someone is viewed as a problem instead of a person, access to help becomes harder. Applications are dismissed. Conversations are avoided. Public spaces feel hostile. It's not just about discomfort, it's about dignity. And when you're trying to rebuild your life, those daily walls, built from glances, gossip, and assumptions, can feel as heavy as concrete. But here's something we forget. Many of us are just one crisis away. If you've ever struggled to pay a bill, missed a paycheck, or had to lean on a friend for help, then you've stood closer to the edge than you might think. The people sleeping on benches or huddled near warming stations once stood there too. They worked jobs, paid taxes, raised kids. Some were veterans, others were caretakers. What they share now is not just loss, but the way the world treats them after that loss. A more honest question might be, what would I need if that were me? This isn't about guilt, it's about empathy. Because when we stop seeing people as those people, and start seeing them as part of our community, everything shifts. From the policies we support to the everyday moments that can either uplift or alienate. And in a city where visibility is everything, what does it say about us when some lives are ignored completely? Most people don't think twice about seeing a doctor. But for someone without stable housing in Las Vegas, even the most basic healthcare can feel out of reach. Without an address, ID, or insurance, walk-in clinics and prescriptions aren't options. Instead, many turn to emergency rooms, not by choice, but by necessity. Emergency rooms are no longer for emergencies. They're the last line of defense. According to recent local data, over 40% of the unhoused population in Las Vegas rely on ERs as their main source of care. That not only overwhelms hospitals, but it also delays urgent treatment for others and drives up healthcare costs for the entire community. The bigger issue? Emergency care isn't designed to provide long-term solutions. Minor health problems, like untreated infections or chronic conditions, quietly grow worse over time. And by the time someone seeks help, it's often too late for a simple fix. When there's no preventive care, small issues become life-changing. Living on the streets means constant exposure to harsh conditions, extreme heat, cold nights, dehydration, and lack of hygiene. These don't just wear on the body. They turn every scrape, cough, or ache into a possible crisis. And without access to regular treatment, those conditions rarely get better. For people already struggling, it becomes a spiral. Poor health makes it harder to work or find housing, and lack of stability makes health even worse. Nevada's expansion of public healthcare options has helped, but not nearly enough. Mobile clinics and outreach programs are underfunded. Community health centers face long wait times, and for someone just trying to get by, waiting weeks for care isn't realistic. Older adults, those with disabilities, and people working unstable jobs are especially vulnerable. Many are forced to choose between food, shelter, or medicine. It's not about neglecting their health. It's about not having any safe, affordable path forward. We often talk about homelessness in terms of housing or safety, but healthcare is the thread holding everything together. Without it, people fall through the cracks faster. And when enough people fall, it's not just their crisis anymore. It becomes a community issue. If a city built on billions in entertainment revenue can't provide basic care for its most vulnerable, what does that say about? As the sun sets behind the skyline of Las Vegas, what remains in the shadows isn't just poverty. It's a deep reflection of what happens when a society forgets its most vulnerable. What we've uncovered in this video isn't simply about tents, tunnels, or statistics. It's about people, real people, many of whom worked jobs, paid taxes, raised families, and once believed in the same dream this city was built on. For some, it took a single crisis, a health emergency, a job loss, an unexpected bill, to go from stability to survival mode. And the reality is, that line is thinner for all of us than we'd like to admit. We hope this journey through Las Vegas helped you see more than just the surface. If you found yourself moved, or even uncomfortable, that's okay. These issues are uncomfortable, but ignoring them doesn't make them go away. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and stay updated with our latest videos. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Disclaimer. This video was created for educational and documentary purposes, based on publicly available data, real-life reporting, and community perspectives. It is not intended to target or defame any individual, organization, or governing body. All content aims to raise awareness, spark thoughtful dialogue, and promote compassion toward those affected by homelessness and systemic hardship. Viewer discretion is advised, and we encourage respectful and constructive discussion in the comments.